I will go ahead and start the recording. Hello. Sharing my screen so that you guys can see. And I will go ahead and begin. Thank you very much for joining this virtual training for Courage Beyond's Crisis Protocol. I'm Jenny Carr. I'm the Programs Director for Centerstone Military Services, of which Courage Beyond is a program. As a crisis line worker, you may have already engaged with our audience of service members, veterans, and their loved ones. You may have even spoken with some of our staff members or peer moderators as we have transferred clients over to your expert care to deal with crisis situations or to begin the counseling intake process. This particular training is not about telling you how to do the job you already know well. We do know you are incredible listeners, and we know you are well trained to de-escalate people in crisis, to creatively and safely provide the resources people need to get help, and to effectively transfer clients to Courage Beyond in-person counselors. For the next few minutes, I will be reviewing a key secondary form of interaction with our population of warriors and their loved ones. For this crisis protocol training, we will focus on how you, as a crisis line worker, will aid our Courage Beyond peer moderators in de-escalating situations that they come across on the phone and via our internet-based services. So I thought I would give a quick background to set this training up. I did want to talk very broadly about the services Courage Beyond provides and who our audience members typically are. So all of our services deal with those who have been affected by military services. We see combat traumatized veterans, we see spouses who have significant secondary trauma and who are very worn out, and we also even treat their children. The scope of who we provide services to is very broad. If someone has put on a uniform in service to their country, we will serve them. If they have loved someone who has served, we will also serve them. And how we serve them, I think, is somewhat unique to Centerstone's traditional counseling services, although we do provide those counseling services as well. Courage Beyond, remember, as part of the Centerstone Military Services family, is actually uniquely funded entirely philanthropically. And as such, our mission is to explore unique ways to foster community and holistic healing within our client population. A key strategy in that service is to utilize well-trained peers who can empathize with our culturally sensitive audience. These peers work in programs you see listed here. So our live online groups hosted on WebEx, which is a virtual meeting space, much like you are watching me use right now with Blue Jeans. We also have in-person support groups, and those are facilitated by peer moderators as well, and then monitored by counselors. We do therapeutic retreats, also peer-led with counselor support. And then we also have peer support through Courage Beyond's forums and social media channels, most notably Facebook. So most of our work is done by these peer moderators, and our peers gain tremendous trust and respect from our audience. The military is its own culture, as I'm sure anyone who has been in it understands. And though many of our population is not in the military any longer, that cultural competency is really critical to trust. They're also a population that can be distrustful of large organizations and government, as many of them have had less than favorable interactions with the Department of Defense and the VA. The good thing is our audience really does trust our peers, and that's evidenced by the outpouring of hearts on our Facebook pages, on our groups, private emails, and forums. Now, they are well trained. We have our peer moderators go through fairly rigorous empathic listening skills. They do suicide prevention, and they are culturally competent in military, but they are not clinicians. And increasingly, our peers are coming across situations or are pulled into situations where they feel the need for additional support from a crisis line worker. And that is where you will come in. So the question that we had as we were seeing these issues come up is, how do you support Courage Beyond peer moderators without derailing the trust they have gained from the client coming to them in crisis? And luckily, we've spent some time thinking through that question, so you don't have to. And this training is a result of several months of communications between the crisis line at Centerstone and our team. And we have determined that there are 2 ways that you as a crisis line worker can help our moderators during a crisis situation, and then 2 mediums where you'll be deploying that help. The 2 ways that you will help will be via warm transfer or behind-the-scene coaching. So when we talk about warm transfers, that's something you're probably familiar with. That's when a peer moderator is going to introduce a client to you that they've been working with, and then is going to allow you to take over that conversation with the client. And the other way is behind-the-scenes coaching, which is a fun opportunity as a lot of our stuff is happening virtually online. And in those situations, you will actually be somewhat virtually standing over the shoulder of our peer moderators. So in those instances, you'll hear from a moderator in the same way. They'll introduce the client and the situation to you without actually introducing the client. And then you're going to watch over their shoulder and coach them through a conversation. So we can do those in 2 different arenas, and one of them is going to be the phone, where you'll be utilizing warm transfer. But the one that I wanted to spend a little bit more time on today is actually our internet-based services and how you're going to help them in those scenarios. So first I will talk very quickly about our phones. Whenever there is going to be a phone-based crisis, for our peer moderators, we've developed the following 4 steps that they will be going through and that you will be going through alongside them. So you can read through it. The moderator is going to get the phone number from the person in crisis. And then our moderator is actually going to call the crisis line before they call the person in crisis, so they can debrief with the person who is helping them. So in this case, you. Once that connection has been established, they are going to 3-way call that person in crisis and then stay on the line with you until that person is comfortable and ready to hang up from their crisis or get the help that they need. The other way, internet-based protocol, is going to be a little bit more complicated and maybe a little bit outside of what you normally do in your crisis line work. When a person is going to present in crisis on our forums or on Facebook, first the moderator is going to, like the phone, contact the Courage Beyond Crisis line. They will always identify themselves as a Courage Beyond moderator so that you'll know you're talking to one of the peers and not the client themselves. And then they'll briefly explain the situation that they are dealing with as a peer moderator. Once she has caught you up on what happened, she will guide you to the specific location where the crisis is presented. So this will be either on a Courage Beyond forum or on a Facebook group that Courage Beyond manages. So if you guys are not familiar with Facebook, which you don't have to be, you will be going to facebook.com and logging in where that arrow states, so the counseling at Courage Beyond, and then entering the password that we'll provide for you. And then you'll be following a similar protocol if you are logging into our Courage Beyond forums. So to make sure that every crisis line worker has access to these restricted places that Courage Beyond manages, we have created a generic account that any crisis line worker will be able to access. Our moderators also have access to that information as well and should be able to give it to you in a pinch. But for safety's sake, please keep a copy of this information close at hand. And you will be handed a cheat sheet with this information along with your training. So if you do not receive a cheat sheet, please contact Jane Boleyn, or you can contact me, Jenny Carr, and I'll give you my contact information after that, or after this training. So on the internet, our goal is having you sign into a generic account is not for you necessarily to take over the conversation. And that's where the behind the scenes coaching is going to play in. So in these scenarios, you are going to be able to see what is happening live time on the forums or on Facebook and assist the moderator in their response. So in cases of behind the scene coaching, the moderator will, you can kind of see through our crisis protocol. They'll call you, they'll let you know what's going on and where to sign in. You will sign in to Facebook or Courage Beyond forums as that generic account. Then from there, our goal is going to be to transfer a person to you as quickly as possible. But if that person is not comfortable, then the moderator will continue to work behind the scenes with the person while you offer that coaching. So I wanted to have Jane come in before we wrapped up and see if she had any questions about the training. So I will let her do that. And Jane, I also just realized I don't know how to pronounce your last name, and I just started pronouncing you like an old queen. Are you Bolin or Bolin?
It's Bolin.
Bolin, okay. I was close.
Yep. I don't think I have any questions about the training. It looks pretty straightforward. I am logging in. So can I use that? Can I just practice that and log into the Facebook page at any time?
Absolutely. And so, yeah, specifically what's going to happen if you're familiar with Facebook is that we have all these secret groups that are attached to our Facebook pages. So if we are doing an online group, like Trench Talk is one of our online groups, and that'll happen on, a service similar to Blue Jeans, like our WebEx account. But in addition to those live spaces, we've set up these secret Facebook groups. So the generic Courage Beyond account that your team is going to be logging into will already have access to those secret groups. So our moderators, once you're logged in, will say, okay, you're in, now go to Trench Talk. And there's where the crisis is happening. You can read through, person Jane Doe is talking right here. So you can start to see what they're saying. And that's where the coaching behind the scenes can happen. But yes, absolutely. I would actually encourage all of your staff to try logging in and make sure that they feel comfortable and don't have any questions about getting into that space before a crisis occurs.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, just seeing how that works is going to be important for some people. So, and looking at that last slide, so if we hang up the phone with them and we're just helping moderate, we would be able to chat directly with the peer moderator?
Yes. Yeah. So, in fact, I can probably pull up something similar for you right now. Oh, no, I didn't disable my video. That's terrible. All right. So they're going to log into Facebook, and then you can kind of see alongside, I've got a couple of Courage Beyond stuff. What'll happen is, like, let's say I'm going to one of our last retreat pages that we did for widows. And in this one, you can kind of see people posting. So let's say Tasha's in crisis. So you'll be able to see what's going on here. And then at the same time, I can start, let's say, like messaging the Courage Beyond account, which isn't up yet. Let's pretend like that. So I'll say, do you see Tasha? What do I say? And then you, as a moderator, can be watching Tasha and then also responding in live time.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. That makes sense to me. I don't use Facebook as much as other people, so I'm sure they won't have an issue with it at all. Let me see, what can I see the forum page?
Sure. So I'm going to our forum page right now, and the login up at the top. Theoretically, this works. I've never seen it not work before. I feel like this is probably just Murphy's Law, but the sign-up sheet is here, where you can kind of see my mouse scrolling around.
Okay.
And then they'll just enter the Courage Beyond like information, and then I think there it goes. So I think it's, and then what is it? Change me 123. I'll show you guys the crisis line as I'm cheat sheeting and looking up the actual information. So here we go. So the account name is Courage Beyond Counseling. And the password is change me 1234, which we will not be changing because it is now in the training that this is the password. So once people are logged in, so now it says I'm logged in and you can see Courage Beyond Counseling, you'll actually be able to see new things that maybe you couldn't see before, new conversations, that sort of thing. So in this one, we'll do the same thing. We'll say, okay, it is actually happening in the bulletin board where the crisis is occurring, go there. And then you'll be able to see all of the topics and posts there to see what is happening and what the crisis is like.
Okay.
Any other questions that I can help address?
I don't think so. Can't think of anything else.
Cool. Well, in that case, I want to thank you for spending time with me today. And as promised, here is my contact information. If you guys do have questions, I'm jenny.carr@couragebeyond.org. Jane also has my information as well. Happy to help, happy to talk, happy to anytime talk about our programs that we do because they're pretty cool. But I didn't want to bore you guys on the first go with the things that I think are interesting, knowing that you needed this training. So I will stop recording and thank you guys for joining.